Think private companies can't operate passenger trains successfully in America? Think again. BrightLine is America's only privately owned and operated intercity passenger railroad, and it's thriving while Amtrak struggles. In just 7 years, BrightLine expanded from Miami to West Palm Beach to Orlando, carrying hundreds of thousands of passengers annually. The company is planning expansion to Tampa, Las Vegas, and California. While we've assumed for 50 years that passenger rail must be government-operated, BrightLine is proving that private enterprise can revolutionize how Americans travel. Today, you're going to discover how BrightLine succeeded where others feared to try. Get ready to understand why private sector innovation is transforming American passenger rail. BrightLine's story begins in 2012 when Fortress Investment Group decided to revive Florida East Coast Industries, a railroad company whose roots stretch back over a century to Henry Flagler, the railroad pioneer who built Florida. The FEC owned 235 miles of railroad track that had carried passenger trains until 1968. Fortress saw an opportunity: use that existing infrastructure to operate high-speed passenger trains again. The company faced skepticism. Conventional wisdom said private passenger rail couldn't work in America. Amtrak had existed since 1971, precisely because private railroads had concluded passenger service was unprofitable. But BrightLine had a different vision. In the next few minutes, we're going to explore how BrightLine built what many thought impossible and what it means for American passenger rail. This is the story of how private enterprise is transforming the railroad industry. The brightest idea: routes too long to drive, too short to fly. BrightLine's genius was identifying a market niche that neither cars nor airlines served well: routes between 100 and 300 miles. Miami to Orlando is 235 miles too far to drive comfortably in an afternoon, but too short for flying to make sense when you account for airport travel time and security delays. From this realization, BrightLine designed its entire business model around providing the best option for this market. Fast enough that the 3-hour train journey seemed attractive compared to 4-hour driving or 3-hour flying. Comfortable enough that the journey was enjoyable, not just endured. What made this strategic thinking special was its simplicity and focus. Rather than trying to compete with airlines on speed or cars on cost, BrightLine created a third category: premium train travel for medium distances. The company wasn't trying to be everything to everyone. It was trying to be the best option for a specific market segment. This focused strategy allowed it to optimize everything: equipment selection, station locations, service offerings around serving this specific market perfectly. Building stations like destinations, not utilities. BrightLine revolutionized how railroad stations are designed in America. Miami Central Station features 3 high-rise buildings integrated with the station. These aren't just train stations, they're mixed-use developments featuring restaurants, shops, hotels, and offices. BrightLine's sister company owns and develops the real estate, understanding that passengers generate property value. What made these station-centered developments special was that they created destination appeal. Passengers would arrive at a station and find restaurants, shopping, and entertainment options integrated directly. The station became a destination, not just a transit point. This model influenced how other railroads think about stations. It demonstrated that stations could be economic engines, not just operational necessities. For cities, it showed how rail investment could drive downtown revitalization. The equipment: Siemens trains built to BrightLine standards. BrightLine doesn't operate vintage equipment. It operates state-of-the-art Siemens trainsets built to BrightLine specifications. The trains feature comfortable seating, Wi-Fi connectivity, food and beverage service, and hospitality standards that rival first-class airlines. The equipment is modern, efficient, and designed specifically for the Miami-Orlando market. The trains are beautiful, painted in BrightLine's distinctive colors, featuring sleek design that communicates modernity and quality. What made BrightLine's equipment choice special was the message it sent: passenger trains can and should be modern. Amtrak operates equipment that's decades old. BrightLine proved that new trains were possible and would attract passengers. This equipment decision influenced how potential passengers perceived train travel. Rather than seeing trains as nostalgic relics, passengers saw them as modern transportation alternatives. The equipment itself became a marketing tool. Financial model: how BrightLine generates revenue. BrightLine operates hourly service. Trains depart regularly, multiple times daily, rather than a few times per day like Amtrak regional routes. Higher frequency means more opportunities for passengers to choose train travel. The company charges premium fares, competing on service quality rather than price. Passengers pay $80 for tickets higher than driving, but competitive with flying when travel time is factored in. What made BrightLine's financial model special was its focus on profitability from operations rather than subsidies. BrightLine operates trains that actually generate revenue sufficient to cover costs and pay back investors. This is revolutionary for American passenger rail, which depends entirely on federal subsidies. BrightLine proved that passenger trains could be financed and operated profitably if designed with sufficient focus on the right market and customer experience. The company's financial success validates the model in a way that theoretic arguments never could. Expansion from Florida to the country. BrightLine's success in Florida has created confidence for expansion. The company plans extensions from Orlando to Tampa. More ambitiously, BrightLine West is under construction, a project connecting Los Angeles to Las Vegas via Rancho Cucamonga. The Las Vegas to LA route is another too long to drive, too short to fly corridor where BrightLine's model should work perfectly. Industry projections suggest BrightLine West could capture 6 million passengers annually. What makes this expansion significant is that it suggests the private rail model is replicable. BrightLine isn't unique, it's proof that the model works. Other investors and companies are watching BrightLine's success and considering whether they could operate passenger rail in their regions. The paradigm of passenger rail must be government-operated is shifting. Private sector success is changing how Americans think about rail. The challenge, profitability without perfection. BrightLine's success has been real, but it hasn't solved all challenges. The company reported a significant loss in 2024 and has deferred some interest payments. The company has debt and faces competition from improving airline service and highway expansion. Operating profitable passenger rail, even with BrightLine's focused strategy, remains challenging. What makes BrightLine's challenges honest is that they demonstrate that even successful private rail operations face difficulties. The private sector isn't a magic solution, it's an alternative model that works for specific markets. BrightLine's model likely works best for high-density corridors with sufficient market demand. It may not work in areas with lower demand. The lesson is nuanced. Private rail can succeed in the right circumstances, but it requires the right market and correct execution. BrightLine represents far more than just a profitable railroad company. It represents a fundamental shift in how passenger rail can operate in America. It proved that private enterprise can successfully operate trains, that passengers will pay for quality service, and that station-centered development can create value. What's remarkable is that BrightLine's success is inspiring other investors and companies to consider passenger rail as a viable business opportunity. The paradigm that passenger rail must be government-operated is shifting. The next time you hear about BrightLine or see one of their trains, remember this. A private company proved that passenger trains could succeed in America by focusing on doing one thing, perfectly serving travelers on medium-distance routes. If you've enjoyed this story about BrightLine's revolutionary impact on American passenger rail, please like this video and subscribe for more explorations of how private innovation is reshaping transportation.